Hello Army. Welcome back to this channel. Okay. Before you panic and immediately open Twitter to start a protest thread, listen to this all the way through first. Because today we are talking about something that made thousands of armies cry, scream, and argue intensely across every single social media platform. There is only one question. Did Hybe, the biggest agency in the K-pop industry, really force Jimin to cut his iconic hair that has made millions of people fall in love? And the answer to that question is far deeper, far more emotional, and far more surprising than you could ever imagine. So make sure you have already subscribed, turn on the notification bell, and prepared your tissues, because this video is going to take your feelings on a roller coaster ride like nothing else. Let's GLO. Before we dive into the heart of the matter, we need to talk first about why Jimin's hair is not just ordinary hair. Park Jimin, or the one we know and love as Jimin of BTS, is one of the most iconic K-pop idols in the entire world. He is not just the best vocalist and dancer in his group. He is a true trendsetter. Every single time Jimin changes his hairstyle, the world shakes. That is not an exaggeration. It literally happens every single time. Remember when Jimin appeared with his pink hair at the concert in Nagoya, Japan back in 2019? The hashtag #PinkJimin immediately exploded on Twitter and became a trending topic in 56 countries simultaneously, generating more than 1 million tweets in just one concert night alone. 56 countries, guys. That is not regular viral content. That is a full-blown global phenomenon. Then there was the legendary blonde hair era, that platinum color that became deeply intertwined with Jimin's identity for months and months. Jimin's blonde hair was not just an aesthetic choice. For millions of armies around the world, that hair was a symbol of Jimin freely expressing himself, Jimin shining at the peak of his career, Jimin being there for them. Even the other BTS members commented on Jimin's blonde hair as the military enlistment date drew closer. RM himself joked about it during their final live together, saying that Jimin's blonde hair would create a massive shock when it eventually had to be shaved off. And that comment turned out to be absolutely correct, far bigger than anyone could have anticipated. December 5th, 2023, a night that the entire global army community will remember forever. 4 BTS members, RM, V, Jimin, and Jungkook, held a live broadcast on Weverse. But this was not just any ordinary live session. This was a farewell live, a final goodbye before all 4 members officially enlisted in the South Korean military just days later. The atmosphere of that live was actually warm and full of laughter. All 4 members appeared cheerful, joking around with each other, even though everyone watching knew this was an incredibly heavy moment. And in the middle of that casual conversation, RM dropped a comment that immediately sent armies into a spiral of panic. RM looked at Jimin and said something along the lines of, "Your hair is blonde. Won't the shock be huge when you eventually shave it off?" Every pair of eyes immediately shifted to Jimin. Millions of armies watching the live held their breath all at once. And Jimin? He answered calmly, but his answer was precisely what made the hearts of armies sink the deepest. Jimin said, and this is the part you need to really pay attention to, "I don't know. I will shave it quietly, then leave quietly and come back quietly. So don't expect any photos or anything like that from me. I don't want to show things like that." Boom. Those words hit like a small but devastating bomb, landing right in the hearts of millions of armies all at once. Jimin did not want anyone to see the moment he cut his hair. He wanted to go through that transition quietly, without drama, without documentation, without a grand farewell. And right there, that was the beginning of all the massive debates that followed. Now we get into the most important part, the part that is most often misunderstood, the part that caused the most people to jump to the wrong conclusions. Did Hybe actually force Jimin to cut his hair? The short answer is this. It was not Hybe that forced him. But yes, that hair absolutely had to go. This is not about a decision made by the agency. This is about the law of the nation. In South Korea, every physically healthy male between the ages of 18 and 28 is legally required to complete mandatory military service lasting between 18 and 21 months. This is a constitutional obligation, not a choice, not a negotiation, not something anyone can opt out of. And one of the standard regulations of South Korean military service is that every single recruit must have their hair shaved upon entering the training camp. This is standard military procedure across the world, including South Korea. There are no exceptions, no special dispensations for K-pop idols, no negotiations allowed about hairstyles. What makes it even more striking, and this is a fact that many people find genuinely surprising, is that the hair shaved from recruits in South Korea is not simply thrown away and discarded. That hair is stored inside a brown bag. The reason behind this is to serve as a precaution in case something unthinkable happens during their service. The bag would be handed over to the family of the soldier. It is a military tradition that carries enormous emotional weight. So when people say Hybe forced Jimin to cut his hair, that is a dramatic way of describing something that was not actually the agency's decision at all. Hybe has absolutely zero power over South Korean military regulations. The only thing Hybe could do was provide full support, and that is exactly what they did. Big Hit Music, the label under the Hybe umbrella, released an official statement on Weverse reassuring fans that they would continue to provide warmth and unwavering support to all members throughout the duration of their military service. But still, the reality remained. Jimin's iconic blonde hair had to go, and that reality alone was enough to break the hearts of millions of armies all across the globe. And now, here's the part that all of you have been waiting for the most. The army reactions. Guys, when the news about Jimin's haircut and his comments during the Weverse Live spread across the internet, things absolutely exploded. Not an exaggeration, it truly exploded in every possible direction all at once. The first wave of reaction was a tidal wave of pure sadness. Thousands of armies flooded Twitter with tweets drowning in crying emojis. Hashtags about Jimin and his blonde hair surged to trending almost immediately. People were writing things like, Jimin's blonde hair era was something entirely on its own. I am not ready to say goodbye to it, and every time I look at a photo of Jimin with his blonde hair now, I start crying before I even fully open the image. Even Korean netizens were swept up in the same wave of emotion. A user on a popular Korean online community forum reposted a photo of Jimin and wrote about how perfectly the blonde color suited him, and how deeply they were going to miss it once it was gone. But then there was a second wave of reaction, and this one was far more mature, far more thoughtful than the first. A large portion of armies actually responded in a way that genuinely reflected how much they respect Jimin as a person. Jimin had been incredibly clear about his wishes. He did not want any photos of his haircut moment to be spread around. He wanted to go through that transition privately, quietly, on his own terms. And armies, the majority of them, accepted that with open arms and open hearts. Many fans actively started warning their fellow community members, if any photos of Jimin after the haircut leak from unofficial sources, do not spread them. Respect what he asked for. That kind of collective response was genuinely remarkable. This was a beautiful moment that emerged from within the sadness. In the middle of all the crying and trending hashtags, ARMY chose to prioritize the wishes of their idol over their own curiosity. That is not a small thing. That is love expressed in one of its most mature and meaningful forms. But just when the mood was heavy enough to sink a ship, along came a moment that made everyone smile and feel all warm inside at the same time. Before Jimin officially entered the military training camp on December 12, 2023, a video circulated showing a moment between Jimin and Jhope. In the video, Jimin was helping shave Jhope's hair, who was also preparing for his own military service. And that moment was both hilarious and incredibly touching. Jhope kept reacting with, "Ah, the hair is going into my mouth," and Jimin immediately burst into laughter and said, "All right, from here on out, let's leave this to the professionals." That short clip went viral within hours. Armies from every corner of the world called it one of the most iconic moments of the entire farewell era. Even in the middle of all the sadness, these two best friends were still able to bring laughter and warmth to everyone watching. And then came the plot twist that absolutely nobody was fully prepared for. Right before officially entering the camp, Jimin did something that surprised everyone. He went live one final time, and with complete calm and confidence, he proudly showed off his freshly buzzed military-style haircut. "I am really grateful that so many people are here to say goodbye and willing to wait for me again," he said with that smile of his. Then he added, Goodbye? I will be back soon, and I will be healthy. Armies who had spent all day preparing to cry their eyes out found themselves suddenly emotional in a completely different way. Jimin with his buzzed hair still looked absolutely breathtaking. Some armies even admitted a little shyly, "I honestly did not expect him to still look this incredible with short hair." And Jimin was certainly not the only one who created a hair drama moment leading up to their military enlistment. Every single BTS member had their own story, and each one was just as captivating and meaningful as the others. Jin, the oldest member who entered the military first back in December 2022, handled his moment with absolute confidence and his signature humor. The day before his departure, he posted a photo revealing his new look with just 1 centimeter of hair left on his head. And what did he say about it? He said his buzz cut looked sweeter. Jan, guys, he took one of the heaviest moments and turned it into something funny and utterly endearing. Fans and netizens immediately melted into puddles. Jungkook took a completely different and incredibly thoughtful approach, one that showed just how deeply he thinks about the feelings of ARMY. As far back as May, months before his enlistment date, he had already warned fans that he would be cutting his hair gradually over time. He said something like, "Rather than cutting it all at once suddenly, I will cut it shorter and shorter little by little, until one day you suddenly ask yourself, wait, when did his hair get so short? So I want to make the transition feel natural." And he kept his word. Every time Jungkook appeared on a live broadcast, armies noticed his hair getting progressively shorter, slow, consistent, and exactly like he promised. Fans described this as one of the most touching gestures of consideration Jungkook had ever shown his community. V went for the most mysterious and dramatic approach, fitting perfectly with his entire personality. He posted a photo on his Instagram story showing nothing but a pile of black hair on the floor, accompanied by a pair of scissors emoji. No caption, no explanation, no follow-up photo of the result, just that image in silence. The ARMY reaction? Taeyong cut his long hair. "I cannot do this anymore." That tweet went viral almost instantly. Peak drama from V, as always. Now let us talk about the bigger picture here. All of this hair drama, all the tears, all the trending hashtags, all the heated debates across social media, is actually a mirror reflecting something far more profound. And that is the extraordinary strength of the bond between BTS and ARMY. Jimin's hair was never just hair. That hair was part of a visual identity that had been present in the lives of millions of fans across years and years. Every color represented a specific era, an album era, a tour era, a chapter in their shared journey as fans and idols together. When that hair had to go, not because of a creative artistic choice or a bold new concept, but because of a national obligation, it felt like an era had truly and definitively come to an end. But there is something more important than that. Something far more beautiful that happened beneath the surface of all that sadness. Jimin, along with every other BTS member, walked into that obligation with his head held high. No protest, no open complaints, no bitterness. Jimin chose to go through that moment in the most authentic way possible for him. Quietly, privately, and ultimately, with that signature radiant smile lighting up his final live broadcast before entering the camp. And ARMY learned something deeply valuable through this entire experience. That loving someone truly means respecting their choices and their boundaries. Even when you desperately want to know more, even when you are missing them terribly and your heart is breaking. And now, here is the best news that all of you have been waiting so long to hear. On June 11th, 2025, after completing nearly 18 full months of mandatory military service, Jimin and Jungkook officially walked out of the military barracks and were greeted by an absolutely overwhelming wave of love from armies gathered to witness that historic moment. They appeared in their military uniforms as they saluted and waved at the crowd, and Jungkook even said with a shy laugh, "It has been so long since I was in front of a camera, and I am not even wearing makeup, so I am a little embarrassed." And Jimin? He was glowing, as always. The day before that, on June 10th, 2025, RM and V had already completed their service and walked out to hundreds of devoted fans, including people who had traveled all the way from Mexico, Turkey, and Brazil just to be there for that moment. V delivered a message that immediately had everyone in tears of joy. please wait just a little bit longer, we will come back with an incredibly cool performance. All 7 BTS members have now completed or are finishing their mandatory military service. Suga, who served as a social service worker, is scheduled to complete his duty on June 21st, 2025, which means that very soon, BTS will be back together as 7 again. Hybe itself has been sending strong signals that a BTS comeback is already in motion. The CEO of Hybe even confirmed at a shareholders meeting that the process is underway, from song production to album preparation to what is expected to be a massive world tour. And the slogan for this year's BTS Festa? We are back. Guys, we are back. All 7 of them. Complete. Ready to shake the entire world all over again. So, did Hybe force Jimin to cut his hair? Technically, no, it was not Hybe. But yes, South Korean mandatory military law absolutely required it to happen. There was no room for negotiation, no exception for an idol as beloved and globally celebrated as Jimin. But what matters far more than who forced and who was forced is how Jimin faced it. With calmness, with courage, with laughter and joy during those final moments with jhope. And with that one last breathtaking smile before disappearing from the public eye. And ARMY, you were incredible through all of it. You cried, you were sad, but you also chose to honor Jimin's wish to go through that moment in private. That is proof that ARMY is not just an ordinary fan base. You are a community that is mature, deeply caring, and truly loving, not just admirers from a distance. Right now, the only thing left to do is get ready. Because BTS is on their way home. Their hair may or may not have grown back by now, but their spirit? Still burning just as fiercely as the very first day they debuted. We are back. BTS is back. ARMY, let's go. Fire. If this video meant something to you, do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Write in the comments, which BTS hair moment has been the most unforgettable for you personally? Jimin's pink hair? V's iconic long black hair? Or Jin's buzzed head that he claimed looked sweeter? See you in the next video. Saranghyo, ARMY. Purple Heart.